In this video, I'm going to be showing you how to crochet a spear, basic ball for beginners. So perfect crochet spear, and also how to read the pattern. So in round one, it says 6 single crochet in a magic ring. For beginners who don't know how to use the magic ring yet, you can use the chain 2 method. So I'll show you how to do that. So what you're going to do is you're going to make a slip knot on your yarn. You can use any size yarn. I'm using a size 4 worsted weight medium yarn, and I'm using a 3.75 millimeter hook, but you can use a 4 millimeter, you can use a 5, whatever your preference is. The bigger the hook, the bigger the ball. So you hold your tail. I usually give it about, let's say 4 inches is about what I normally leave. You want to pinch that between your pointer finger and your thumb of your left hand. And then drape that yarn over your first 2 fingers, just like that. Bring that yarn up and around and create an X over the top of your fingers. You noticed how I grabbed the yarn with my pinky finger. Just what I end up doing makes it easier to work with your yarn. So you're going to take your hook, and I like to hold it pointing down, so the hook towards the table, not up in the air. Like this. Go underneath the top half of your X. What you're gonna do is use that hook, part of your hook, crochet hook, and grab the working yarn, which is the one that's connected to the ball over here, not the little tail. And you're gonna pull that yarn underneath the X part. You're gonna flip that hook up towards you, just like that, like you're gonna eat an ice cream cone. That's what I always tell my kids. Hold the hook still, gently let go of the loop and pull that knot tight, and then create your tension by pulling the working yarn tighter to your hook. Now, for tension, you wanna make sure your loop is tight to the thicker part of your hook, not the tapered end. If you keep making it tight to down here, you're gonna have very tight work. It's gonna be very hard to get your hook into the next stitches. So you have your slip stitch on your hook. So if you wanna see that again, it's very good to practice. Hold about 4 inches of a tail in your fingers. Wrap that yarn over the top of your 2 fingers, creating an X. Go under the top half of the X with your hook facing down towards your finger. You're gonna scratch an itch. I always tell my kids that too. Grab your yarn, the left half of the X, without splitting the yarn. Pull it this way, flip it up, gently let go of that loop. Let that knot tighten and cinch it to your hook. That's creating the nice tension on your hook. Now, to get your chain 2, you want to hold that tail, that's the short end of the yarn, with your left hand. You want to hold that firm and use your other fingers to create the tension of the yarn so that everything's nice and tight and not super loose. You're not trying to crochet in the air, and you're never going to be able to work with that. So hold the tail, hold the top half a little bit tight. Use your hook the way that you grabbed the yarn the first time through the X, face down, and yarn around that working yarn. Do you see what I did? Have your hook facing down, slide it back, put the yarn over the hook. Now twist the hook facing you. Grab that yarn as you gently pull it through the loop and make your first stitch. That is a chain 1. To make a chain 2, you just do the same thing. Keep that tension on your hook to the width of your hook. You don't want it looser, you don't want it super tight, it'll be hard to work into. Hook face down, slide it back under the yarn. Hook facing you, pull a loop through. Now you have 2 chains on your hook. At this point, I like to turn my chain sideways, and we're going to be working into the first chain that you made. So the one that is 1, 2 from your hook. So we are doing the 6 single crochet into essentially a chain 1, but you need this chain, the second chain, to make it reach over. It just gives it some height. So anyways, you put your hook face down into that first chain. So you're basically putting your hook through the loop. Like you did before, you're gonna twist your hook from underneath to yarn over, and you're gonna pull that loop through the chain. Now you have 2 loops on the hook, 1, 2. You're going to yarn over again the same exact way. You always do it the same way. Twist your hook towards you. Slide through both loops on the hook very slowly, gently, carefully. And now you have 1 single crochet on your fake magic ring, your loop, your chain 1. So that's 1. You can see it looks like a V underneath the hook there. You can always hold your work to see what it looks like once you've done it. So now you want to go back into that same hole that you just went into the first chain. Now you can see that there's a hole there. You want to put your hook back through, go under the yarn, twist your hook, pull up a loop, 2 loops on your hook, yarn over again, and pull through those 2 loops on your hook. You now have 2 single crochets done. You want 6. So we're going to go back into that same exact hole. It's going to get bigger the more you work into it. Pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through those 2 loops on your hook. We now have 1, 2, 3 single crochets. We need 3 more. Go through that loop, the hole again in the chain, yarn over, pull through a loop, yarn over, pull through 2 loops on the hook. 1, 2, 3, 4. Go into that same hole, yarn over, pull up a loop, 2 loops on the hook, yarn over, pull through 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1 more to go. Go through that same hole, yarn over, pull up a loop, 2 loops on the hook, yarn over, and pull through 2. You now have completed 6 single crochets in a fake magic ring. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. At this point, you are going to head on to round 2. And I like to use my stitch counter to kind of let me know what round I'm on. So I put it in 2. Round 2. Increase in each stitch around. The number in the brackets at the end is how many stitches you're going to end up in total for that round. The first round would have had 6 stitches. So you had 6 single crochets. It should have said 6, but it's implied. An increase is basically 2 single crochets into each single crochet before it. So an increase is 2 single crochets in 1. So let's do round 2. I like to hold the circle that I've worked on in my thumb and my pointer finger. You need to keep the tail of your work kind of draped around because you're going to be working with that too. You want that worked into your work so it doesn't come undone. So your first single crochet of round 2 is going to go underneath this V here, which is the first single crochet of the round before it. You see how I have the 2 stitches on the hook? That is the full single crochet that I'm working into. This is the tail. We want that to stay over the hook when we're working on our first couple rounds, because you want that to be worked into your work. So make sure that's on top. So reach under and do a yarn over with your, see the purple yarn? That's the one that's attached to the big ball of yarn. It's easy to see with the variegated colors. You can kind of tell where the stitches are. Yarn over, pull through that stitch, that single crochet. See how the tail is kind of behind it now? It's going to be worked in. Once we grab a yarn over and pull through two, you can see that that tail is now part of your work. It's now in there. So that is a single crochet. That is the first one of round 2. And what we need to do is use a stitch marker. If you don't have one of these, you can use a bobby pin, you can use a safety pin. There's some that come on your clothes tags that you can use that are just little pins just like this. You clip it into the first stitch, and that marks the beginning and the end of your round, of round 2 that we're working on. So now that was the first single crochet of your increase. An increase is 2 stitches in 1. So we want to work into that same spot where that purple stitch is coming out of. See how it's like a line coming up, and the hole that it came out of, that is the same stitch. We want to work into that same spot for the second half of the increase. When I'm working in my head, I'll call it in for the first stitch, crease for this stitch that I'm working on, and I'll do that around. So I remember if I've done 1 or 2, and if you forget, you can always just go back and count 1, 2. Because an increase is 2 in every one, that's an even number. And if you're on the even numbered one, say 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, you'll know that you've done 2 stitches. If you're only on an odd number, 1, 2, 3, you'll know you need to do 1 more. So you count your stitches, 1, 2. Okay, that makes 1 increase because it's even. On to the next stitch. You work your way under. It kind of already has a hole there, and it has a V on top. And you can count around if you can't find it from your stitch marker. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's the 5th one backwards, or the 2nd one in. We're working. So you go under the full V. Make sure you get both loops. Make sure you don't split your yarn. If you split your yarn, you need to undo stuff and start over. Just gently undo it, and you can get back to where you were. And maybe I'll make a mistake and show you so you can understand what I mean. So pull up a loop, 2 loops on the hook, yarn over and pull through both. That is the in part of the increase. In other words, we need 1 more stitch in that same spot to finish the increase. So this part here, go into the same hole. See how the purple yarn against the blue, where it's coming out, kind of shows you where you went. That's where we're going again to make the crease, the increase. 1, 2. So yarn over, again, reminding yourself to keep that tail above your work, not like behind it. Over here, you want to make sure it's over the hook in the front. You're going to yarn over with your working yarn. Pull up a loop, 2 loops on the hook, yarn over and pull through 2. So now you have 1, 2, 3, 4. That tells you you've finished your 2nd increase. So we're going to do this all the way around. Now you need to be careful that you don't grab the wrong part of the V. You want to find it by turning your work a little bit, kind of flattening it out. You can see that it's here. And so you're going to work under that part of the V, the next stitch. And you'll see 1, 2, 3, 4 stitches are left. 8 in total, plus 4 makes 12. Keep that tail over your work. Yarn over and pull up a loop. Yarn over, pull through 2. Keep your tension to your hook. Like I was saying earlier, you don't want sloppy work. You don't want it too loose. You're going to have very big holes in your work if you do. And then we're going to go into the same spot as that purple yarn just came out of. Yarn over, pull up a loop. Yarn over, pull through 2. And see how our tail is still being worked into our work? You don't see the blue on the other side. Now let's say I split my yarn here. We're going into the next single crochet. Let's say, I don't know, I made a mistake and I'm like, don't worry. Very carefully, keeping this loop on the hook, undo this one, slip it off, kind of work it back in, find where it needs to go and do it right. Okay, so go through, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, and let's say I messed up a stitch back here. You can undo your work all the way to that point and fix it. If you do it very slowly, you won't lose all of your work. And the way to know where you were is by counting 1, 2, 3, 4. So that tells me there's 2 full increases that were already created. All you gotta do is get your hook back into that loop without splitting the yarn. Be very careful not to miss one of those pieces of the strands, and then work your way into the next stitch. Yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, keeping that tail in your work. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 creates the 3rd increase because it's an even number. Yarn over, pull up, yarn over, pull through 2. So now you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 stitches. Okay, you get 6 more to go. 3 more should be left. So you can always count 1, 2, 3 is left. Okay, you did it right. If you still have 4 left, you're gonna have to undo your work and see where you missed a stitch. That is the best way to know that you've done it right. You just count. So go into the next single crochet, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull up a loop. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. One more in that same hole as the purple yarn went. Put your hook through, keeping your tail over, twisting your hook and catching that yarn, pulling it up, having 2 loops on your hook, going from the front and twisting over and pulling through 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 2 stitches left to do the increase in. That makes 10. 2 in this one will make 12. 1, 2. So now that is round 2 complete. At this point, when I've completed a round, before I do anything with the stitch marker or my hook, I will take my number pegboard and move it to the 3rd. You can keep a tally mark on your instructions. You can make a little asterisk saying you're on round 3 now. You can have it listed separate. I'm on round 3, just write round 3. Any way that you can remember. So now, round 3 gets to be a little tricky. It's something you haven't seen before. Anytime you see a parentheses like this, it's like math. You do what's in the parentheses first, right? And then you do the multiplication. Well, it says a single crochet, then an increase. It has a comma separating those 2, which means it's 2 separate stitches. You're going to do a single crochet in 1 stitch, then you're going to do an increase in another stitch, and you're going to multiply this 6 times around. So if I were to spell this out the long way, it would be single crochet, increase, single crochet, increase, single crochet, increase, all the way for 6 times. This is the shorthand of writing that. I will show you what I mean, so keep that in mind. Round 3, single crochet, increase 6 times. Now, you are on round 2. See how I grab the working yarn, the purple strand is the working yarn in my hands. I kind of hold the tension. You just got to learn how to hold it. Over time is how you learn. And you're going to remove your stitch marker, keeping in mind that that is the next stitch you're going to be working into. You can kind of lift it up and see the hole. You're going to set that aside for 1 moment. Again, keeping that tail of your work on the top. You're going to go into the next stitch. This is now starting round 3. Keeping the tail over your work, Coming from behind, twisting your hook, grabbing a loop, lifting it up, 2 loops on the hook. Looks familiar, huh? You're going to yarn over and pull through. That makes 1 single crochet of round 3. And immediately you mark it. If you don't remember to mark it, you might have to take apart your whole work because you're not going to be able to really figure out, unless you're very advanced, and figure out where it actually started, where it ended. Unless you were counting and you remember, and that's no problem. If you counted 2 and you forgot to put it, just count back 2 and put it in the first stitch, okay? So it was single crochet increase, so that is 1 single crochet. The next stitch is next to it, so we're going to put our hook under the stitch, keeping our tail over the green tail, catching the working yarn that's purple, twisting your hook and pulling it up. And see how I'm not in the same stitch as I was already? I'm into the next stitch. Yarn over, pull through 2. That's the first half of an increase. So for making an increase, you need 2 stitches in 1. So go back into that same hole you just did. Yarn over, pull through. Keep that tail under your hook at this point. Keep it working into your work. Yarn over, pull through 2, and that is now a single crochet and an increase. Now, in order to count these around, you know that a single crochet and an increase is how many stitches? 1, 2, 3. So every 3 stitches is going to be that bracket, and you need that bracket 6 times. So the next stitch in this sequence, since we've already done a single crochet, then an increase, our next stitch to do is a single crochet and then an increase. And that will be the second time we've done it. You can use your board as your advantage. If you want to keep track of how many increases you've done, you can, move it to the next one. You don't have to. I don't. I just kind of keep track of it in my head. So, single crochet into the next stitch, not the one we were just in. See the blue? We're going under the purple. Keep your tail over your work, kind of alongside it, like that. Go under your yarn, flip your hook towards you, catch it and pull up a loop. Then keep that green tail down, not up in the air. Keep it against your work. Same thing, flip your hook, yarn over and pull through. That is a single crochet. Then we need to increase. Go into the next stitch. Grab a loop, yarn over again, and finish the single crochet. So you've got 1, 2, 3. That's single increase, single in. I'm gonna make a crease. It's just the second half of my stitch. That's just how I call it, so that I know that that's what I'm working on. It's in the same stitch. An increase is in the same stitch, not the next one. You can even see if you pull your work tight, the ones that are increased are double inside. You can see there's 1, 2, 3, 4 strands of yarn coming out. Each stitch is 2 strands of yarn, kind of like the base. Okay? So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And remember I said that parentheses counts as 3 stitches. 3 plus 3 is 6. So you've done 2 parentheses worth of work. You need 6 parentheses worth of work to make the 6 times. So let's do a single crochet increase again for the 3rd set. Got it? Single crochet, yarn over, pull up, yarn over, pull through. That is a single crochet. Then we need an increase into the next stitch. Keep the tail tight, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through. That is an in part of the increase. In other words, 1 stitch out of 2 that you need to do. Same hole, yarn over, pull through, keep the tail over your work. Yarn over, pull through, keeping that tail in your work. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We have done 3 sets of the parentheses. 3, 6, 9. Because all together you're going to have 18 stitches, so we're halfway there. Which means you need 3 more sets of the parentheses. Single crochet, increase, single crochet, increase, single crochet, increase till the end. Okay? So this is still the other half of round 3. So go into the next stitch. The green stitch here is the one you were just in. The purple one next to it is where you're going. Single crochet, keep that tail tight, yarn over, pull through, 2 loops on the hook, yarn over, pull through. That's a single crochet. Find that next hole, that next stitch, and work your increase. So I'm going to do in, crease. That's what I mean by calling it increase. Each stitch, it just reminds me I have 1 more stitch to go. So that was your increase. The next stitch you would do is, can you guess it? Single crochet. Single, increase. So in, crease, same stitch, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through. That was the increase. So what do we have left? 2 stitches, a single and an increase. When you count after all of this is done, you're gonna have 18 stitches. Single, look, we're getting to the end of that tail. This is great. Next stitch, increase, in, yarn over, pull through, crease, go through, yarn over, 2 loops on the hook, yarn over, pull through, 2 loops on the hook. Count your work. You pull your loop a little bit if you want so it stays and doesn't get pulled out. That's just what I do. Keep your stitch marker tight. You don't want to lose it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 stitches. Round 3 is finished. We have 18 stitches. On to round 4. Move your peg marker. Mark your work. Say that you're on round 4, whatever you need to do. Round 4 is an increase. Now here's a new one. When a 2 comes before a stitch, it just means you're going to do that stitch 2 times. So you're going to do 1 increase and then you're going to do 2 single crochets across 2 stitches. So altogether you're going to be using up 1 stitch to make the increase, 2 stitches to make the 2 single crochets. It takes up 3 stitches from your row. And I'll show you what I mean. You're going to do that 6 times. You're going to end up with 24 stitches around that round 4 when you're finished. Let's put that aside. Put your hook back into the loop. Pull that tension to the hook. We've already marked that we're on round 4. Now undo your stitch marker. Set it aside for just a second. At this point, when you have this much yarn left, you can push it to the back. You are now finished using that tail. Yay! That's the fun part. Now you get to do it free and easy. So, round 4 says increase, comma, 2 single crochet. So we're gonna do an increase here. We're gonna do an in, yarn over, pull through 2 loops on your hook, yarn over, finish that single crochet, We didn't finish the stitch yet, but that is the first stitch of this round, so we are going to mark it with our stitch marker. Now it says increase, so that we have to finish the increase. That was the in part of the crease, increase, so now we got to do the crease part. Same stitch, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, and you've got now 2 stitches in 1, which makes an increase. Now 2 single crochets. You're going to go into the next stitch. You're going to do 1 single crochet, yarn over, pull through, then you're going to go into the next stitch again and do another single crochet separately. Because if you went into the same stitch, what does that create? An increase, right? So you've got 1, 2, 3, 4 stitches created, and you've taken up 1, 2, 3 stitches to do it. That is now your first parentheses worth of work, which was an increase and 2 single crochet. Now we're going to do that 6 times around. So we come back to the beginning and do an increase again, 2 more single crochets, an increase again, 2 more single crochets until you get to the end. The best way, other than counting your stitches to know that you finished your work correctly, is that you end on the second single crochet. So if you get to the end and you're working on an increase and that's the last stitch, you know you did something wrong because it says increase, then 2 single crochet. I'll make that make sense when we get to the end. So increase into the next stitch. You're gonna make 2 single crochets in the seam, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through. That's the first half of the increase. Seam stitch, finish the increase, yarn over, lift up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, increase, 2 single crochets, next stitch, single crochet, and next stitch. You see how I kind of keep the yarn tight to my hook? I kind of do that as I go. I don't even think about it. That's why I don't even mention it. That's your tension. If you're loose and you're going into your hook, you're gonna have loose work. It's gonna be kind of sloppy looking. But beginners are gonna see that in their work. Don't worry about it. Just do it. Just keep on going. Learn as you go. The next time you do it, you'll do it better. So that's increase, single. Now we're working on the second single. That is the second bracket worth of work because we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 stitches. Each bracket is 4 stitches. So next increase, because we just finished 2 single crochets, we're going to the increase again. Into the next stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. That's 1. Second half of the increase, same stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. 2 single crochets separately. Yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. 1. Next stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, increase, 2 single crochets. Guess what we do next? Yep, increase. In, crease. See, I like this that it changes color. It makes it easier to see where you're working. It makes it easier to see your stitches. You don't have to do any color work. It does it on its own. It just looks cool. So that was the increase. 2 single crochets separately. 1, 2 separate stitches. Don't forget, you're not making an increase. 1, 2. Increase, single, single, increase. That's 2 for the increase in the same stitch. You're going to work into the next stitch for your 2 single crochets separately. 1, 2. We are on to the last bracket. We've got 3 stitches left. And we've got 3 stitches worth of work. An increase goes into 1, don't forget. And 2 single crochets go into 2 separately, so that's 3 stitches. You know you finished your row correctly. If you only had 2 stitches left and you needed the increase in 2 singles, you knew that you did something wrong. You might have to take that row apart because your row doesn't count correctly. That's what I meant by you can count your way through, or you can see by how you land. Like, you know you're supposed to end on 2 single crochets at the very end, and we have that. So now we're going to make the increase. 1 in the same stitch, 2. See how my stitches are kind of uniform? It's because I'm keeping that tension on the hook. The tension is the tightness of the loop. You don't see through it. You kind of pull it tight, but not too tight. You know, because you want to be able to move your hook very easily in and out. And see, I split my yarn, so now I've got to be careful to catch it all. And you know you've caught it if you lift it up and you see that it's perfect. If you pull it and there's a bunch of strands, it makes it easier to see where to grab the right strands and then get your tension back again. So that was the increase we just did. 2 more single crochets separately. 1, yarn over, pull through 2, and the very last one of this round, go through, yarn over, pull up a loop, 2 loops on the hook, yarn over, pull through 2. That is the last single crochet of this round. It tells us on round 4 that we should have 24 stitches. Always count your work, especially if you're a beginner. Make my loop loose so I don't lose my work, and I can put my hook aside, starting with the stitch marker. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. Round 4 had 24 stitches. We did it correctly. If you want to continue and you've gotten to this point, I think the rest is pretty self-explanatory. Do 3 single crochets separately, then do an increase 6 times. So 1, 2, 3, increase, 1, 2, 3, increase, all the way around for 30 stitches. And if you can count that correctly, you know you did it right. I will continue this video next week. Bye.